Hey SCIFI fans, this is Chris at SCIFI Review, and in this installment I'm going to be talking about Books of Blood, written by Clive Barker and directed by Brannon Braga. Stay tuned. So I was flipping through Hulu trying to find something to add to my list the other day, and I see this Books of Blood, and I'm like, what the heck is this? Looks mildly interesting, right? Come to find out, it's written by, Clive Barker. I'm like, oh, cool, Clive Barker. Come to find out, it's directed by Brannon Braga. We all know that name from Star Trek, of course, so I'm like, okay, this might be good. Okay, let's just, yeah, it was okay, but let's just kind of run this whole thing down. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to make spoilers here because there's no other way to do it, basically. So Books of Blood is a story, well, it's three interconnected stories, basically, and we don't really find out what the connection is until the end. So this movie starts out with a girl named Jenna, who's not quite, let's just say she's got some issues going on. She's got the thing called misophonia, where you can't stand just normal noises. Well, they're not normal. It drives me nuts. I have this too. Just listen to somebody eat. Close your damn mouth while you're chewing. Drives me up the wall. That kind of thing, except hers is like times 100, right? And she's got just random noises. She has these headphones she puts on to block it all out. Eventually, she just gets tired of it, runs away, steals some money from Ron and her boyfriend, takes off, and ends up at this bed and breakfast run by this creepily nice couple. And weird things start to happen, right? There's these big, huge cockroaches start coming out of the walls at her, and come to find out there's actually people in the walls. She does this scene that kind of reminds me of, Hellraiser's puzzle box, where she's punching these little things in the wall, and these panels come out and open, and it's kind of like, that was a nice little throwback to the puzzle box from Hellraiser, I thought. But come to find out, this couple, their whole shtick is taking people and basically abducting them, taking out their eyes and tongue, and hook them up to an IV and stick them in the floor walls for the rest of their lives. And supposedly this is them saving them from, a life of misery or whatever. Okay, that's cool Clive Barker shit right there. There's this couple of scenes in this segment where they're a little bit cringeworthy, to be honest. The whole needle in the eyeball, and I thought we were going to see she's sitting there holding a spoon, getting ready to scoop out this girl's eyes, and I'm like, oh god, do we really have to watch that? And then there's a couple other scenes where you're just like, whoa, I can't believe you actually went there. What happens is, okay, let me back up. I did leave something out. The whole reason, or part of the reason she's like this, is there was an incident at her college where this boy that she was seeing ended up dead. Now, we don't know the details of this incident. We will later. But what come to find out that this boy's dad has been chasing her down, comes to this B&B. Of course, he starts asking questions. The couple, takes him out, kills him to feed the garden. That's the other thing, this is creepy, just vibe. Oh, we got to keep the garden fed, that kind of thing. And puts him in his car. Meanwhile, Jenna escapes these people, climbs into this car before they push it off a cliff, right? And that's where this story ends. Now, I'm sitting here going, wait, what? That's the end of this story? And I'm like, honestly, this kind of wrecked the rest of the movie for me, because for the rest of this movie, I've been sitting here going, what do you mean that's the end of that first segment? I'm sitting here going, when? It's like I kept waiting for that to appear. It does, but not till the very, very, very end, and we'll get there eventually. So the next story is about this researcher named Mary, who's sent a tape of this guy in a locked room, no clothes on, lights go out, the lights come back on, there's weird, eerie, things scribbled in blood all over the walls. He's laying there in a seizure in a pool of blood too. Oh my god, what is this? So then he eventually shows up at her office. Turns out he's a medium, and this is him talking to the dead. Now, he pulls this off for her and supposedly passes a message from her dead son. Now, her son died of cancer or something fairly recently, and he was supposedly sent by him to meet her. One thing leads to another. Turns out it was all a grift, and none of it was real. He learned all this stuff from an ex-husband, boyfriend of hers, about the kid, and she finds out like right before they're supposed to have this big investor meeting where she was gonna, pimp about how he could talk to the dead and all this stuff. So she goes, no, we're gonna go through with this. But here's the catch. A little bit earlier, she's up in her son's room, and turns out the kid is actually trying to talk to her and tells her to bring Simon to him, or to them, more to the point. Turns out, yeah, there actually are out there, and they want Simon, I guess, for whatever purposes. So she locks him in the room, turns the lights out, and the dead basically have a field day with him right on him. I mean, this is kind of one of the scenes where you go, whoa, slow down, guys. And the lights come back on, and his hair's gone. He's like completely covered head to toe, on his fingertips, on his eyeballs. They make sure one scene where you can see it gets written in blood on his eyeballs. It's like, oh man. Yes. Okay. So turns out that he is in fact the Book of Blood, which we find out in the next segment. Now, okay, let me back up again. At the very, very beginning of this movie, there's a scene with these two mobster types, and they are looking for the Book of Blood to sell to pay off some debt or something like that. I don't remember. That part's really not that important. But the main part is they're looking for it. There's a scene too where they're in bright green, Challenger. They almost run after Jenna, almost run over Jenna, that is. And it's like, oh, there's a little bit of connection right there. It's like, I wondered when that would show up again. Yeah, like I said, there's some things that happen. You kind of go, wait, what? No, it doesn't make any sense. But so it turns out this book is right where we left it in the last sequence. Like I said, this guy is now the Book of Blood. This Raven Moore, we show up at the house where Mary and Simon are at. And apparently he's still in this room all carved up. He's the Book of Blood, apparently. And this is like trashing, decaying the entire neighborhood around this house. There's kind of this whole setup. The guy that comes in with the driver, basically, of this car. There's a scene where apparently the book, messes with his head, and he does a thing, I guess, okay, that's, So this mobster guy shows up to the house, I want the book, la la la, ends up, Simon, through the, powers that be, makes the guy, stab himself in the chest thinking he's stabbing a bunch of rats that are climbing all over him. They're not. He just stabs himself and runs away. Okay. He shows up at none other than the bed and breakfast from the first sequence. And he shows up right when the guy is trying to haul another dead body into the cellar or something like that. And so they, of course, kill him. Of course. But it's like, okay, that connects that story with that one. Here's what happens next. We return to Jenna waking up in a hospital bed. Turns out she survived this trip over the cliff in the car. And we learn that she's not so much the victim that we thought she was. Turns out she's kind of this sick, twisted individual who basically talked this kid into jumping off the top of the building, and we don't really know why, but she did it. And you're left going, man, that's some dark, twisted shit right there, Clive. Like I said, I have not actually read this. I don't know what kind of liberties were taken with this by Braga and company. I don't really know. It's in this day and age too. I don't know when it was written either. Now that could have been written a while ago, but this day and age, that kind of stuff gets a little. You got stories about people convincing their people to kill themselves on social media, etc. It becomes a little more relevant. It's like, whoa, that's actually kind of some deep crap there. Turns out she can't live with this decision, and guess what she does? Did you guess that she goes back to the bed and breakfast and willingly has her eyes and tongue removed, and willingly lets herself be stuffed into the floor for the rest of her life? And the final frame, I think, was her in, the dark, looking through a knothole, and with this big smile on her face, saying, "Finally, I'm free of all the crap in the world." So here's the thing, guys. Now, throughout this movie, being a Clive Barker movie, I kept having Hellraiser flashbacks. To be honest, the whole thing with the wall, with the little panels that were popping off and opening up. I don't know if that was explicit on part of Braga and company to put that little throwback in there, and the scene with Simon getting himself, all carved up with the stuff. It reminded me of the scene in Hellraiser where, Frank's getting hooked, if you know what I mean. That was, it's kind of, okay, you're throwing an homage back to that stuff, I get it. There might have been a Nightbreed 1 or 2 in there. I don't remember Nightbreed that well to be able to say for sure. But the whole thing had kind of this 1980s, vibe to it, to me, to where there's the way things are done then, now, in between. That whole movie had kind of a 1980s vibe to me. It had that kind of Twilight Zone, 4 rooms, everything, cat's eye type of business, where And you go, okay, that's cool too. But to be honest, the whole thing was kind of fell flat. You know, like I said, that after that first story, you spend the rest of the thing going, wait, what? Come on, how did? And you're left, you know, always that in the back of your head going, when is it going to show up? When is it going to show up? And, you know, it does, but it kind of wrecks the rest of the experience. The second story, I thought too, you know, all of these stories were just built, and then boom, they just kind of stopped. I know you're, you know, limited for time in a movie. You got to fit it into roughly 2 hours, but at the same time, you kind of got to make the entire package fit into that space, not just build it and then just go, oh, throw her off a cliff. Oh, that's the end of that story. Oh, the guy gets killed at the end. Honestly, that wrecked it for me. I don't know what else to say about that, really. I mean, you know, like I said, this was directed by Brannon Braga, who, of course, had a huge role in reviving Star Trek through Next Generation and Voyager Enterprise. Yeah, I don't know. This, you know, it was a decent attempt. I looked this up before I started recording this, and apparently this thing was universally panned. You know, I'm not going to out and out pan it. Critics and audience, you know, like the rating, like Rotten Tomatoes. It's just like, you know, it wasn't that bad. I don't know what people are expecting. It wasn't that bad. I'm going to give it a 2.2. Now that's slightly below my average, which would be 2.5 out of 5. I sort of liked it, but it was just kind of done, and you go, okay, well, there was 2 hours of my life. It wasn't a total waste, but it wasn't great. I felt it could have been a lot better. It could have taken more chances, maybe, if that's the word you're looking for. Like I said, it had several moments where even I'm a hardcore, you know, horror guy, was like, whoa, dude, you know, the whole needle in the eyeball, and there's a few other scenes where you're just like, oh man, you actually went there, but you could have gone further, and I think Clive Barker would have gone further. Maybe there's some issues there that they couldn't go further. I don't know. Like I said, 2.2 out of 5. Watch it if you like that kind of 1980s Stephen King, Clive Barker type of thing. That's what it reminded me of, was a lot of 1980s horror movies. That was probably on purpose. Braga, you did a good job there. 2.2 out of 5. Check it out if you got time. If not, you're not missing a whole lot. This has been Sci-Fi Review.